Well, let's do this. Kris Lindahl, thank you for joining us today. For those of you that don't know Kris and you're from Minnesota, please just go outside once, drive down any highway, and you'll see a billboard of Kris somewhere. And we're just really honored to have you on the show today to sit down with us and talk through a little bit about your background, what you're up to, and the different ways you're involved in the community here in Minnesota. So, Kris, I want to start by giving you the opportunity to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your story.
Well, thank you, Jake. I appreciate and Trent for having me on the show and getting to spend a little bit of time with you and everyone that follows. So I'm Kris Lindahl. I'm a real estate broker in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Colorado. We operate our brokerage as a more of a team model, which is focused on putting people in place where they're best. And we know that when we have people sitting in seats that optimize their strengths and we surround them with others that really help with their weaknesses, it delivers a better consumer experience. And that's what we've been after since day one. It's definitely not easy to get to that point, but we know that the consumer continues to want more. And what we're after is a streamlined approach that provides them a level of service and creates a world-class experience that they've never experienced in their life before. And our biggest competition in real estate isn't other real estate brokers, teams, or agents anymore. It's the experience that people get elsewhere in the world, right? Especially with everything that's happened in the past several months. Everything is so convenience and control based. And so that's what we've been after, is just continuing to raise the bar for the consumers.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, you've done really well with Kris Lindahl Real Estate, but I want to pull the curtain back a little bit and step back in time to before Kris Lindahl Real Estate was even started. So I went to college, Mankato State. Would love to hear a little bit about what your goals were as you were stepping out of college and whether real estate was even a part of your picture at the time.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I think, I look back to those days. I mean, I went to school and I have a degree to be a teacher, education. I was like most people stepping out of college, really didn't have a plan. I had spent 4 years getting prepared to graduate with a degree, but I didn't actually get the real life experience of what that would mean for me until I was in my last year. As I was a senior, that I actually get to go out and be a student teacher. And so it was interesting. As I spent all of these years, I did some clinicals, some volunteering, spent time at schools and coaching and everywhere that I could give back. But I really didn't get that experience until the end. And once I got into that environment, I realized that it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. And I think that a lot of people in the world, that once they get into a scenario or they step through something that they weren't sure what it was, once they get there, it looks different, right? And so what I recognize now is, obviously we're having this conversation far down the road from where I was when I was stepping through and graduating from college, was I always had a passion for helping people. And that sounds cliche. Everyone always says things like that. But when I look back to growing up and I look back to college, like that's truly what motivated me. That's why I wanted to be a teacher, is I wanted to make a big impact. And when I got done with, when I graduated, I decided that maybe teaching wasn't the exact place that fit right for me. And so then I got into, I started working with builders with water softeners. And then I realized after some time that wasn't right. I had a friend suggest that real estate be something that I look at, and that's ultimately what I decided to do. And I think one of the things that I see with people that are in college or they're in transition at some point of life is there's not a lot of people around them that are giving them solid advice. And I know that I didn't have any mentors or any advice, and I wasn't sure what I was doing. I was just making mistake after mistake, stumbling around, trying to find my way. So one thing that I love to do in our company, we started our real estate scholarship program to help create that mentorship that I never got, that most people don't get the opportunity to have someone in their corner that's already been successful. I shot a video yesterday internally for our company is I'm always sharing things that I'm learning, seeing, to help grow our people personally, because we know that if we have better leaders, better people, that professionally they'll be sound and they'll be stronger. And I recorded a video yesterday and I said, one of the biggest things in life is you have to evaluate who you're listening to. And so often we get caught in these circles and we want success so bad that we're willing to listen to anyone. But if you actually take a deep dive into what they're doing, you're like, wait, that person doesn't have what I want. Like, why am I listening to them? Like, that's not where I want to be in 12 months or 24 months or 36 months or however long down the road that is. And I think it's one of the areas where people miss more often than not. And it's who they're listening to. And that could be family, friends, coworkers. It could be online coaching. It could be coaches. It could be a lot of different things. And so I just see people too often get caught up in the hype and they really don't know why they're listening to who they're listening to other than they're just listening. And a lot of times we want to be around people that tell us yes. We want people that say like everything's possible, all this. I want to be around the people that challenge me. I want to be around the people that challenge me and help me grow. And so those are all the things that I didn't have when I was getting done with college. And we've just been so focused on creating that community at Kris Lindahl Real Estate where people are challenged, they're growth orientated, they're open-minded, they want more, and they're willing to grow. And I know that when you're in an environment like that, that's where anything in life is possible.
Trent, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm in a personal mentorship session with Kris right now.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, no, Kris, I think you bring up a lot of great points. Just going off of that, I'm curious, what advice do you have for people? Oh, sorry, I think I cut out there. What advice do you have for people that are in that same stage, kind of graduating college, maybe looking for a mentor? What do you have for them? Like, what advice? How do they know what mentor to source? Like someone that's not just going to be someone that's going to say yes to them.
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is be assertive. Be assertive. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are willing to help and are willing to be mentors or willing to give a little bit of their time. But it starts with the person that wants it. Like if they're just talking about it and taking no action, nothing's going to happen. And I've just seen over time that the ones that are most successful in life, and by the way, everyone's definition of success is different, right? So when I say successful is in the eyes of the beholder. Everyone has a different way of what that looks like. And there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's whatever brings comfort to you when you define success. But one of the important things is you have to take action in anything in life. Like I can't tell you how many people keep telling me they're going to do something and they never do anything. Like all they do is talk. Like they just constantly talk like, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. Let's start this today. Let's start that tomorrow. And they're just constantly getting busy, or they're constantly getting ready to get ready, that they never do anything. You see it often in video, right? In video. And so everyone knows that video is impactful today, like from social media to streaming to online to OTT, you name it. Video is very popular and it's a way for us to connect with one another as human beings. Yet when I say that, I know that less than 1% of people will pull out their phone and hit the record button. They don't like the way they sound. They don't like the way they look. Like the environment's wrong, the lighting's wrong. They had a bad hair day, this, that, whatever, the wrong outfit. I've seen it over and over again. And the ones that step through with that assertiveness and they're just willing to make mistakes and grow, those learning opportunities are the people that actually experience the most success in the world. And the one thing that we always talk about in our company, I will take my terrible lighting present video over everyone else's absent video all day long.
Absolutely. No, I think that's a great point that you bring up. So no, I appreciate you sharing that for our listeners here.
Yeah, and by the way, Kris, I think you definitely outdressed us today. So we are in video, and clearly you know what the video scene is like because you definitely showed up for it.
I would say with that is that everyone has a different way of presenting themselves, so there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, there's a lot of days that I have a Be Generous team, and I did a podcast and a video about a year ago that said like what we wear or how we dress doesn't define who we are. Like it really doesn't. And I think often that, especially in the world we live in where, dress code definitely is changing, right? I mean, not
there is
nearly
no
as formal. Yeah. It's, you dress for your day, you dress for success, you dress to impress. I mean, people have different ways that they address that. So I don't feel like I am overdressed today. I'm sorry if I did that to you.
No, you're properly dressed. I mean, this is when I think of Kriss. When I think of you, I knew you were going to show up looking like this, because this is just my vision of who you are. And I knew Trent and I were both going to show up like this, because this is just what we dress like every day. Actually, I am dressed up right now. And I'm in a gray t-shirt.
I love it. I love it.
One of the things that I noticed that is kind of interesting is you came out of college with a degree in education, and you didn't go down like a traditional education path as a teacher, but I think a core principle for what you've been doing throughout your career is teaching, whether it be a mentorship intentionally or working as a team instead of going like a traditional real estate agency route. I just think it's fascinating that core principle of teaching and mentorship has come up time and time again throughout your career, even though you stepped aside from the traditional teaching path. So something I wanted to point out there.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's always, perception is always so interesting when you hear it, because to me, I feel like I'm learning, not teaching. Like, I feel like every single day I'm out learning. I'm having conversations. I'm here today, spending time with both of you to learn. I'll probably hear from some people that when this goes live, that I'll learn some things that they heard that they point out. And so I'm always trying to figure out, how do I continue to grow? And when I have those learning moments, I tend to share those with others, right? And so that's the sort of that core principle of being generous that we spend so much time on, with giving back our time, treasures, and talents, is we want to give back what we've learned. And I know that, there's scarcity mindset thinkers and there's abundance mindset thinkers. The scarcity thinkers think that when they learn something, they need to keep it internal, because if they share it, their competitor or someone else is going to take it and use it against them and beat them. And the thing is nobody can beat you. No one can beat you. Whatever that is, whatever your X factor is, whatever makes you different, they can't beat that. And I think too often when we think about that, we always try to develop and be someone we're not. And that's what I see so often in all of the world, is like, oh, I want to be that person, or I want to be that brand, or I want to be that company. And then you try to be that. And the minute that you try to be someone else, you're in a defensive mindset. You're in a defensive mindset. And so for us, being in that offensive mindset where we're staying, way ahead of the pack and continuing to push ourselves, the reason we are is because we're learners first. We're learners first. And when you're a learner first, that's how you become a great leader. Like, being a teacher is not how you become a great leader. Being a learner is how you become a great leader.
Interesting. And I do want to get into the Be Generous project in a little bit here, but I want to pause. I know in 2014, you were named #1 real estate agent. And I want to hear a little bit about that from your perspective. Like, what did you do to differentiate yourself and become a successful real estate agent, and then also start to develop Kris Lindahl Real Estate as an organization?
I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. In 2014, I sold 175 homes. You mentioned something just a few minutes ago that I want to sort of articulate on what #1 looked like to me and why we are where we are today. So #1 isn't just about money. #1 isn't just about selling houses. Like, there is so much more to it. And one of the challenges around being a solopreneur, individual real estate agent, is it's lonely. It's really lonely. And so I grew up in a team environment, team sports, wanting to win, celebrating wins, celebrating losses, coming together, having that connection to others that you don't experience when you're an individual agent or a solopreneur. And so even though I was #1 in the state and, in the top several in the country, I had no one to celebrate with, right? And so I got my license in May 2009. And the thing is that it was a tough time for so many families with the recession and short sales and foreclosures and job loss and bankruptcies and you name it, that as you experience success during those times, it's really tough to celebrate and it doesn't feel right. And so as I look at what's happened over the past several months, it reminds me a lot of the same types of things. People are getting sick. People are losing their jobs. People are more isolated. People are in search of community more than they ever have been before. The things that bring us together are no longer there. Sporting events, church, restaurants, all these things that we used to experience and have are now removed. All we have now is we're in more isolation. We're on social media. Everything is so divisive. Like we can't seem to get along with anything right now. And it reminds me so much of when I got started. And it's a great reminder of what you just about what it looked like in 2014 being number one is I was in isolation. I was lonely. Yeah. I got to hold big trophies on stage and everyone said, Kris Lindahl's amazing, incredible, the greatest thing ever, whatever. But none of it mattered if you're not internally fulfilled. If you're not internally fulfilled, like it doesn't really matter. And so although I did make an impact on a lot of people that year, I knew that I could help more people. Like I knew that I could help more people in different ways. And my goal all along was I want to create a team that doesn't have to go through the same things that I went through. They don't have to make the same mistakes that I made. Like the things that I was not great at, that I know real estate agents don't love. Like, let's put that in place for them so that they can do the things that they love, so that they can go back to their families with an abundance mindset, an abundance of opportunities, and live a life that they never thought was possible.
Really interesting. I think something you mentioned there about isolation and the separation from community, something that you experienced a few years ago, but it's something that at a macro level, just about everybody in the United States and across the world is experiencing right now. So I'd love to hear from you. What are a few things you're doing right now to try to foster community, build relationships, and bring people together throughout this crazy 2020 that we've been a part of?
Yeah. So video is a big one, right? I mean, video is a big one. I think that there's a lot of Zoom fatigue going on, definitely. And I think that there is a craving for getting back together more than there ever has before. We've built and created a production company. So we now have live stream technology, 6K level. I mean, basically it looks just like a TED Talk that we invested in that technology so that we could communicate and connect with the people in our organization in all 3 states in a way that we were never able to do before. And it challenged us. It was not easy to build out production. I mean, we essentially, have a news studio, or we could operate live concerts in real time now. And that was really difficult to do. But what I would tell you is that none of that would be possible if I didn't go through the pain of being terrible on video when I first started, and being super uncomfortable in front of people when I was speaking, but constantly challenging myself to keep moving a little further, a little more challenge. Now, it's exactly why I'm wearing what I'm doing today. Is I'm going to go there today, and I can go on stage without one note, one thing, and speak for hours. Not because of what that is today, but because of the work that I put in the past. And I would say, sharing that day, I didn't even know that I was putting that work in. I didn't even know that. I just kept moving forward. So now I can show up for a company in a challenging time on video and deliver to everyone in real time what I've learned along the way, and being able to connect. And it's something that I know that no one else in the industry can offer, right? I know that most people in our industry are really insecure about being on video. They only want to show how great they look in this image, but it's an illusion. It's not actually true. Like, show me, like, the best leaders in the world are the ones that are willing to get vulnerable and do something that they're not good at. Those are the best leaders to me. Those are the ones that stand out. The leaders, the leaders that I don't follow are the ones that put out this like media illusion that like life is perfect. There's no problems. There's no mistakes. Everything's incredible. We're rock stars. Like, show me the people that are struggling and have challenges every single day. And that's the people I want to follow. The ones that are willing to walk through that pain every single day to get better. And those are the things that I share inside of our organization. And when you look at what I said earlier about who are you taking your advice from, you have to be careful the listening that you're doing, because it can throw you off course quick, like really quick. You could start overthinking like, oh, could I make more money over here? Am I even passionate about this anymore? Is this the right place? Is this the right community? There's all kinds of things that you can start doing. And for me to be able to share the stuff that I've learned along the way with our community, I've saved our agents years and years and years of pain and struggle by sharing and openly giving back what I've learned. Now, here's the thing though. There are abundance and scarcity thinkers, just like what I said before. Scarcity people, they won't even watch the whole video. They'll click on it for 10, 20 seconds, go, oh yeah, I watched it. Abundance thinkers, they'll watch it 20 times, taking notes every single time. And that's just what makes us all different. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you show me in a live stream presentation, if you show me the screen of the people, I'll tell you who the most successful ones are. Their heads are down taking notes. They're not distracted. They're dressed right. And they're going to ask questions. And they're going to ask a lot of them. And they're going to have that curious mindset at all times. And so you look at all of the things that I've done. Now, all I'm doing is sharing what I've learned. And what I share internally is everything. Like I share the good, the bad, the ugly, the personal challenges, the struggles, you name it, I share all of it. And that's the benefit of being a part of our community, is that the mentorship and that you get to learn. And when you start casting that vision and you start showing that, you have a lot more people that want to be a part of it. They're like, that's what I want to be a part of. I want to be a part of that. Like, and those are the things that as you find, those are the types of things that you want to be a part of. Those are the communities that you want to be a part of. When people start coming in and going, I'm ready to do that. I want that. That's fun. Watching people walk through those moments. Now, the thing is, our society has turned into where everyone gets a trophy, like everyone's rewarded somehow, that when work gets tough, most give up. Like there's nothing in the world that I have ever seen that didn't take hard work to get nothing. And there is this mindset about real estate that it's like, hey, I'm just going to jump into real estate and start selling homes. Like I'm going to start selling homes. I control my schedule. I don't have to work often. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, made it look easy as possible for people coming to our organization. I mean, we have a dialed line process, but you still have to show up. Like it's still hard work. And interesting how so many people are looking for the easy button. And that's why today you see so many job hoppers, right? You look at resumes, I see them every day. And I'm like, well, why are you spending 6 months at every company? Right? Because we're all running away from the reality that like, we're not willing to work hard. That's just where we're at. I mean, you just see it over and over again.
That's interesting. I appreciate you sharing that. I think that just ties back to your original message you said earlier. Is like, you just have to take that action, and not just saying, oh, hey, I will do this. I will do this. Take that action and take it to the next step so you can continue to learn as you go forward. So no, I appreciate you sharing. I think it's a lot of great insight there for sure.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to jump in. I know one way that you've been building community over the last few years is through the Be Generous project. Yeah. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about where that came from. And as we dig into that further, I'm going to ask a little bit more about your input on what generosity means to you. So first and foremost, like, where did this concept come from, and what does it look like now?
Yeah. So when I look back to when we first started the team, like the Kris Lindahl team, before we became Kris Lindahl Real Estate in January of 15, we started evaluating, like, what is it in our company that makes us different, right? What do we stand for? Like, because the thing is when you're in an organization, a team, whatever that is, if you don't know what you stand for, how are people ever going to become part of it? Mm-hmm. And so we started evaluating, what is it that everyone shares here? And the thing that kept coming up was the willingness to give back, like the willingness to give back, which is exactly what I shared earlier about being a teacher, about being a learner first, about sharing the successes, sharing the learning opportunities, and just giving back those time, treasures, and talents. It just continued to show up over and over and over again. And so we developed core values. We didn't really know what we were doing. We grabbed some Google, we grabbed a few here, there, and whatever. But the one that we did know, the foundation of who we were, was be generous. What we thought then, that there were a lot of others that would play a part in our future. And what we've learned along the way, that's the foundation. That's the foundation. That's what anyone coming to our company, like if they're greedy, they're not going to fit here. Like if they're greedy and they just want to watch their bank account grow, they're not willing to share what they've learned, they're not going to make it very long here. Like we are so focused on giving back in so many different ways. And for everyone, the number one way to give back, the easiest way to give back is by writing a check, by clicking the GoFundMe link, by giving something through Facebook donations. That's easy. You start going out and giving your time and what you've learned, that's far more difficult. That's far more difficult. And so we've constantly started to challenge everyone in the company that, like, how do we centralize as an organization to make a massive impact in all three of those pillars? We started an internal initiative called the Community Act. And just the other day, we had quite a few people from our organization that went out to a restaurant and centralized and created and put together things for hospitality workers that have been impacted. And watch people do that on their own. We didn't tell anyone where to go, what to do. But when you create a community, and when I say create, this wasn't me that created it. This was our community that created it. When you create a community like this, you want to do more. You're inspired to do more. There are people around you that just push you. It's just like being on a great sports team. Like the best sports teams are not the most talent. They're the best locker room. Every single time. Every single time. You see it over and over again. You start playing past people's expectations. Like no one thought that we'd ever get this far. Now we have nothing to lose, right? And they start centralizing around each other, and all of a sudden they just keep winning. They're like, how does this team keep winning? They don't even have anyone, don't even have any all-stars, right? You see it over and over again. And those are the things that I know are important to our organization. And for me, like, I just love being a participant in the community. Kris Lindahl Real Estate has a life of its own now. Like, it's got momentum. It's the community that decides where it goes, not Kris Lindahl. And that's when you know that you're part of a powerful community, when everyone has a voice. You know, I've been a part of organizations that are run like a dictator. Like, do this, do that, do this. No, not that, not that. And no one ever empowers anyone to make decisions, to make mistakes, and to learn from those growing opportunities. I've seen it so often. And I want an environment where people can thrive, they can grow, they can learn, and they can be in an environment where they want more and where there are people that are pushing them. And I know that, like, in the world today, there aren't a lot of communities like that. And I know that what we have is special. What people see and what people hear is they see our marketing, but what they don't know is that we have the best people. Because I don't care how much marketing you put out in the world, if you don't have great people, you will fall short at some point. You will fall short. And that's the piece where I would say that we are misunderstood, is they see all this marketing, like, oh, that's too much, that's way out. But then they see the people, and then they understand, like, oh, we get it. Like, we saw that story, we saw this, we saw that. And it's always interesting watching people, how they grow, like watching where someone enters our organization and who they become. Like, I live for that. Like, I love it.
Yeah, it's super interesting. For everybody that's listening out there, we've been talking about generosity. I'm sure a handful of people have been inspired. Like, I've personally just been inspired just listening to you about generosity, and I'm thinking through a bunch of different ways and what I can do to be more generous in my life. So what advice would you give to people that are inspired but don't really know what to do or how to give back or who to give back to?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one thing that I say is very natural of what you had just said there is that sometimes we don't even see that we are being generous and that we are giving back. For example, the fact that you and Trent created this show, are investing your time, your talents as interviewers, and delivering this to your followers and the people that you're connected to, is ultimate generosity. Like, it truly is. But what happens is we've all been trained that generosity means giving money. Like we always, like that's what we think it is. And we're not actually looking and evaluating time and talents ever. We don't connect those two to generosity. We think that giving back and being generous means we have to go write a check, give money, make a donation. That's what we always think. And so then when we're doing things like this show, by the way, it's incredible. The things that you're doing, like we don't even feel like that's generosity because we've been so trained for so long that generosity is giving money. And so like the biggest impact that people can make in the world are by doing things like exactly what you guys are doing right now. Like we don't know what one of you said, what I said today that might change someone's life. And you may never know. They might not leave a comment. They might not like it. They might not heart it. They might not send you a message. They might listen to this and take notes. And 10 years from now, you get a call or a message and you go, hey, I was in a really bad place in my life and I didn't want to share with you then, but I just want to let you know that that episode or this episode or that video changed my entire life. Like changed my entire life. And so every single day that you live where you're giving back time and treasures, you are making an impact. The thing is what we've been trained to do as a society, that if we don't get instant feedback or instant gratification, we don't think we're doing something, right? So we don't think that we're making an impact. Like, for example, you put this video out or you put a podcast out or whatever it is, you're like, oh, it only got 5 likes. Like it only got 5 likes or it only got 100 views. Like if one person takes one thing from whatever you share, that's what generosity is. And the people that do it best and give back the most are the ones that don't stop. That don't stop when they don't get instant gratification. They don't stop. I mean, the way that social media has evolved, think about it. Like if you were going to give a presentation to 60,000 people, would you prepare? In person? Yes. Right? You're doing a commencement speech. You're in a stadium, whatever it is. You're like, okay, what am I going to hit on? Bullet points, whatever. Mm-hmm. But when we go on social media, we don't do any prep work. None.
That is
it's the same thing. You're on stage. It's just a different stage. And what we forget, and I was victim to this as well, we forget that every view, every like, every comment is a human being. Mm-hmm. Like we get trained that those are numbers, not people. Right? So we're like, oh, that one only got 1,000 views or 100 views or 10,000 views or whatever. Like, and we forget that that's 10,000 people like the three of us that are sitting in front of a computer, their tablet, their phone, that are watching and listening. And it's really easy as we continue to put content out to lose sight of that. It's really easy because when we're at a live event and we're in a stadium or wherever, in a gym or wherever we are, we can see people, we can feel people. Here, we do these things, we see the reactions. We don't know we don't know how much. Now, there are some tools that, you can look at analytics and track certain things, but we really don't know how people are receiving it. We really don't know. And I would say that you guys are on a great path. And one of the biggest challenges that people have is they stop when they were just getting started. That's the number one challenge that people have. This is why most people in business never make it to the next level, because they stop right before they're about to get there. They're like, oh, I just can't take any more of this, whether that's whatever resource that is, whether it's time, whether it's money, whatever it is. Like, I'm tapped out, I'm fried, I'm burnt out. And they stop and they're so close to making it. They're so close. I mean, a phenomenal story to really understand is Blockbuster versus Netflix. Mm-hmm. Like Blockbuster was so close to winning. So close. They didn't even know how close they were. They were so close. They were in the streaming space. They were right there. They were causing so much pain for Reed, the founder CEO of Netflix, that Netflix was ready to quit and give up. But they stuck with it. Best Buy, Carl Icahn comes in, invests all this money, doubles down on brick and mortar, like this is the future, brings in a different CEO, the whole thing. And the next thing you know, Netflix wins because they stuck with it. Blockbuster, the pain that they were creating and giving to Netflix, they shut that side of the business down. Shut that side of the business down. And you're always so close. And so many people just give up, and I see it over and over again. They're just right there, right? They're 3, 4, 5 months into real estate, which is super tough, like super tough. But if you look at it from an abundance mindset, there are 5, 10 families that they were able to help, that then those 5 or 10 families went and told their friends and their family members, and it continued to go. And they're planting seeds that are going to flourish and grow later, but then they stop, or they look a different direction because they're getting bad advice. They're listening to the wrong people, or another shiny object comes up like, oh, you can go, here's the easy button over here and you can get rich quick over here by doing this instead.
Yeah.
And they see it over and over again. And so just sticking with something long-term, I can tell you right now, the reason we are where we are today is because we have people and leaders that are solely focused on this one thing. That's it. And we're focused. There's nothing that is going to distract us. We know exactly where we're going. We know what our mission is, and there is nothing else that we are going to do. And are there a lot of things that we could do and get distracted with right now based on what we've learned? 100%. Like, there are a lot of different opportunities out there, but we stay in our lane and we stay focused and we know what our mission is.
Jake, I don't know about you, but when Kriss was talking about generosity and just like talking about giving time and not just money, and I got chills there as well. And I think that's exactly what we're trying to do with this project. So
yeah,
that's
I
really
love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Really great insight there as well.
Yeah, and I know we're coming pretty close on time here, Kriss. So I just have 2 more questions for you. One, you've been giving us a ton of advice, and I still feel like I'm in a personal mentorship session with you right now. So grateful for that. But if there was one thing that you wanted people to take away from today, what would it be?
Student first. The one thing is be willing to learn. You know, I just tell you, over the years, I've seen a lot of people that don't want to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people that don't want to listen, you know, and especially, you know, I mean, success leaves a lot of clues. It really does. I mean, there's a lot of new things. Technology's changed things, but there's a lot of principles that are the same. There's a lot of people that have done this before we have, that have experienced the same amount, or if not more success than we have, that we need to listen to, that we can learn from, but only if you open your ears. Only if you open your ears. And so I think that I've seen over time, you know, we've got a society of know-it-alls. You could go online and support anything that you want, any argument that you want, any thought that you have, and you can go get whatever information you want. But one of the biggest challenges we have right now is that people aren't willing to listen, and then with what they learn, take action. They just don't do it. And that's a beautiful thing for the people that do, because then there's no competitive space, because you're in a space of your own.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's a beautiful place to be. I mean, I think that, you know, when I think about the red ocean, blue ocean, I mean, you've got everyone that's over in this red ocean, you know, fighting and doing all these things. You know, they're on social media, arguing with each other, doing all these, you know, trying to start businesses, copy each other. And then there's this blue ocean over here. It's like, hey, we're just gonna be better people. We're gonna grow as leaders. We're gonna be students first, and we're gonna win. And that's how we're gonna win. And so I think that as I look at the world today, the greatest opportunity that we have is to listen. We really do, is to listen. And the second part of that is that assertiveness that I talked about earlier, and it's then taking action. You know, there's going to be a lot of great stuff, a lot of good takeaways from this episode that will impact people. The only ones that are going to do anything with it are the ones that listen and take action. The only ones, you know, and there's going to be a lot of other people here that are just going to kind of listen. You know, they're distracted, they're doing something else, and they're like, oh yeah, great episode. And then there's going to be others who are like, those 2 things, 3 things, I'm going to take action on those right now. And those are the people that are going to get to the next level.
That's great advice. So last question for you, Kriss, and this is a Minnesota-based community podcast. What is your favorite part of Minnesota?
Favorite part of Minnesota? I love
about Minnesota, whatever that is.
The people.
Yeah.
The people. Like I love the people. Like I have, you know, for us, like we have so many supporters in our communities, and so many people that I don't even know how to thank, because I don't know who they are, right? It's people that refer people to our company. It's people that help our Be Generous project. It's people that help and support agents in our company, employees in our company. The giving back mentality and sort of the Minnesota nice is something that doesn't exist in a lot of parts of the country. I know this because I spent the past several years speaking all over the country, and I can tell you that the people in Minnesota are different. And what I would share is that the scarcity mindset person will go, no, Minnesota people are this or that, or it's overrated, or it's this, or, you know, people are better here, or I'm from there, it's better. And I would say just keep that abundance hat on, and all of a sudden your perspective on people changes. Like if you leave your house every single day looking for good, you'll find good. If you leave your house every single day and you're looking for problems, and it's naysayers and doubters and chaos and chaotic, and you don't have anyone in your corner supporting you, you don't have any mentors, every day is going to feel like that. And so for me, I leave every single day from a mindset of joy, from a place of generosity, where I'm going to positively impact everyone and everything that I've came in contact with, and I'm going to leave it better than how I entered. And when you have that mindset, everything's great.
That's really great advice, Kriss. You will always find exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that. And Trent, unless you want to add anything else here, Kriss, we're grateful that you were able to sit down with us and take the time with us today. And just a ton of insights that we had. And I'm personally just going to go back through it and watch this again and take some notes on it, try to see what I can learn from it.
Yeah, Jake and Trent, I just want to say I appreciate both of you for reaching out. I know we had a couple of different times that we had to change to, and just being persistent and getting through that so we could all get together and spend time and have a conversation. I loved it. And then for anyone that watches or listens to this podcast, my social media channels, like connectwithkl.com. Like if anyone wants, I monitor all my own social media messages, comments. If anyone has a question or something that came up today when they hear this episode, I'd be glad to share anything that I can. Or if someone is so brave, they can send me a video from their cell phone after this episode on one of the social media channels and just go to connectwithkl.com. And that's all my personal social media handles.
Right on. Well, thank you for sharing that, Kriss. We'll be sure to link that in the show notes as well. Yeah. Thanks for coming on today. And we will hope to stay in touch with you, Kriss.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kriss. We'll see you.